Adolf Hitler, a name synonymous with destruction, war, and one of the darkest chapters in human history. He was responsible for the deaths of over 17 million people, orchestrating a war that engulfed the world. But there is one part of his story that often goes untold: his wealth. The crazy part: he didn't build his fortune the way you'd expect. He didn't inherit riches. He didn't establish a major business empire. He didn't have a corporate legacy. Yet, by the time he was at his peak, Hitler was one of the wealthiest men in the world. So how did a failed artist rise from poverty to an unimaginable fortune? From starving artist to political leader. Before Adolf Hitler became the infamous dictator of Germany, he was a struggling artist. Rejected from the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts not once, but twice. He spent years in Vienna, living in homeless shelters, barely scraping by. He survived by selling small paintings and postcards to tourists, making just enough to afford meager meals. He was nobody. Then came World War I. The war changed everything for him. As a soldier, Hitler found purpose, camaraderie, and a new sense of identity. But more importantly, it exposed him to the political turmoil gripping Germany. And in that chaos, he saw opportunity. A book that built an empire. After the war, Hitler entered politics. His first real financial breakthrough? A book. While imprisoned for attempting a coup in 1923, Hitler wrote Mein Kampf, a manifesto outlining his twisted ideology and vision for Germany. At first, it seemed like just another obscure political book. In 1925, it sold 9,000 copies. By 1930, sales had climbed to 55,000. But the real fortune came in 1933, when Hitler became Chancellor of Germany. That year alone, 850,000 copies of Mein Kampf were sold. Then, he made his most profitable move. Hitler declared Mein Kampf an official government book. He ordered that every household, government office, and school obtain a copy. 6 million copies were bought by the Nazi government, handed out for free to officials, and even gifted to newlyweds. This wasn't just propaganda. This was business. Monetizing a dictatorship. Hitler understood the power of image. He monetized himself. He licensed his own image to the German government. His face appeared everywhere, on posters, stamps, newspapers, and magazines. Every time his portrait was sold, he received royalties. He made millions simply by allowing the government to print his image. And that was just the beginning. His fortune grew exponentially, but there was one problem: taxes. The tax bill that vanished. By 1933, Hitler's rising wealth meant he owed an enormous amount in taxes. At the time, his tax debt was estimated to be around $10 million in today's money. So how did he handle it? He simply erased it. A government minister declared that Hitler was exempt from paying taxes. Just like that, his debt was wiped clean. His fortune, untouched. By the time World War II began, Hitler's personal wealth had reached an estimated $170 million in today's currency. He spent it on war, real estate, and financing the Nazi regime. His money was used to fund one of the most devastating conflicts in human history. The lessons from history. Hitler wasn't just a dictator. He was a businessman. He turned a mediocre book into a government-enforced bestseller. He monetized his own image and made millions. He eliminated his tax burden with the stroke of a pen. He understood one fundamental rule. The more people knew and followed him, the more power and money he accumulated. But let's be clear, money without morality is meaningless. Hitler amassed wealth, but his legacy is one of destruction and hatred. So why does this story matter? Because history teaches us valuable lessons. It shows us how manipulation, control, and propaganda can lead to unimaginable power and fortune. And it reminds us that wealth alone does not define greatness. Final thoughts. The rise and fall of Adolf Hitler serve as a dark reminder of what happens when power is wielded without conscience. His fortune was built on deception, exploitation, and war. And in the end, it crumbled along with his empire. Let history remember not just what he built, but the devastating cost of his actions. Because power, unchecked, leads to ruin. If you found this deep dive into history fascinating, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more historical insights. Leave a comment below. What are your thoughts on how Hitler built his fortune? Stay tuned for more stories that reveal the hidden truths of history. And remember, those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it.